This is Chris Lane. I'm Senior Product Manager for Johnson Controls. You're watching ControlTrends.com with Eric Stromquist and Ken Smyers.
All right. Hey, welcome to Control Talk Now. This is your host, Eric Stromquist, and you're listening to Control Talk Now for the week ending November 10th, 2013. I'm joined, as usual, by the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hey, Kenny, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you very much. Coming from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, we're all happy up here in Pittsburgh. The Pitt Panthers pulled out a very exciting victory over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and it was freezing cold, but it was fun to watch. We didn't get home till late. It's one of those 8:30 start times, and it was real cold down here by the river in Heinz Field. So, but
I bet you, but it was worth it, huh?
It was. How about you? How's it?
Well, here it is. Beautiful Sunday afternoon. It's beautiful in Atlanta, about 65 degrees out there. The Falcons are on. My wife's mad at me because I'm up here talking to you about controls. I mean, what can you say, man? Two guys, otherwise very healthy, normal guys. And what do we do on Sundays? We sit around and we talk about controls. We must really like this, huh?
Well, I'll tell you what, we're very fortunate. How about that bad news that happened at Typhoon out in the Philippine area? Really did some bad things. Hope.
Thoughts and prayers go out to all the families and all the people affected by that. Really, really bad news. And I mean, I think when something like that happens, it makes you really thankful and grateful for the fact that we're healthy and safe. And so, again, thoughts and prayers out for all those people in Thailand. So, Kenny, and also wanted to just say special thanks to Chris Lane for that great introduction. As you know, Chris is up for the PID Award for Johnson Controls at the 2013 Control Trends Awards. Johnson Controls is up for Best Technical Support. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the show, but thanks, Chris, for that great introduction. And Kenny, let's just get right to it. Who's our sponsor this week?
All right, Eric, the sponsor for Control Talk Now and ending November 10th, 2013 is EasyIO. Mike Marston and the crew from EasyIO. EasyIO is up for 8 awards in this year's Control Trends Awards at 2013 at the BB King Club in New York City. And thank you very much, Mike. Mike's he's in Japan, right?
Yeah, Mike's in Japan. We were hoping to hear from him. He was going to try and get on. He was at some bar in Japan and was going to try and get on Control Talk Now with us. But I have a feeling that might not be happening this week. But, special thanks to Mike, Kenny. A lot of people don't know, but when we had the idea for the Control Trends Awards, Mike was the first guy to step up and say, I'll be a platinum sponsor. When the awards ended last year, Mike immediately said, put me down for a sponsorship next year. So Mike's been a great supporter, not only of Control Trends, but the Control Trends Awards. And in addition to making great products, Kenny, Mike is just a super, super good guy.
Sure is. Thanks a lot, Mike, and thanks a lot, EasyIO. All right, Eric, first up, we have the Universal Fire and Smoke Damper Actuator by Honeywell. Seems to be a great product with meets the UL 555 and 55S requirements. Field reversible, great features with a full line. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that and what they showed you down at the Momentum on Tour?
Well, we've talked about Momentum on Tour. Honeywell is traveling across the country with their team of not only product managers, engineers, but executives. And the fire smoke dampers were one of the products they were showing. They beefed up their product line with that. And for those of you who are in buildings or contractors, fire and smoke dampers are required by code and required by law. They basically shut down the dampers, the outside air coming into a building if there's a fire, to help choke that fire out. And also protect people from smoke that might be going through the building. So code requires that they're tested. And to all our building owners out there, please make sure you keep records of that, because heaven forbid, if there was a fire in your building and you didn't have a process where you were checking those, it could be bad for you legally. But I think what makes this nice, Kenny, is because when those dampers do go bad, you don't want to fool around. You want to get them replaced. Honeywell makes that very, very easy. With their fire and smoke dampers. One of the really cool features they have is if you happen to order the wrong type actuator, like you needed a direct acting versus a reverse acting, or normally open versus normally closed type damper actuator. Honeywell's got a reversible switch on it, so you can just reverse the switch. So cool product. And if you haven't been to one of the Honeywell Momentum on Tour road shows, be sure to check that out. They're doing a really nice job with that.
Okay, next up, Eric, we have power metering from Siemens. That was a post by Stacy from Stromquist. Siemens recently announced the availability of its new MB Power Meter, a sub-metering device designed to provide real-time, accurate electricity metering and proper control over energy costs. Captures kWh, energy and demand data, as well as virtually all relevant energy parameters for diagnostics and monitoring three-phase or single-phase motors.
Well, yeah, Siemens is bringing more and more products out. I mean, when you think about Siemens, I mean, they're the second or third largest controls company in the world. And I think a lot of their great products get a bit obscure because most of the building automation stuff comes through their branches and not through distribution. But they are starting to bring more products out through distribution. This power meter, it looks like it's a really, really cool meter. And, you know, they're bringing the EchoView out, which is another product we've talked about on Control Trends. So, and they actually have a product up for the 2013 Control Trends Awards, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. But, yeah, cool post. I mean, everybody needs to do sub-metering now. It's sort of the linchpin of everything that's going on in our industry. So good job, Siemens.
Right, yeah, you're right. Siemens is big, and also their CTA, Control Trends Awards silver sponsors for today, for the 2013 Control Trends Awards. You're right. They do a lot of things well, but they're so big that sometimes you lose them just through their ubiquity. They're a global company. When I was in Germany, they were one of the largest corporations in Europe, and saw them everywhere. Next up, we have what's easier to understand. That was a great post that you did. Is the IRS tax code instructions more difficult, or how to calibrate a pneumatic thermostat?
Well, you know, it's funny, Kenny. Because pneumatics now, I mean, old timers like us, we grew up with them. You know, me, you, your brother, you know, Tommy, David, all those guys, and most of the guys we know. So, I mean, that was the first truly open control system, and back in the day, what they did to sort of differentiate themselves was they used vocabulary to make it confusing. So if you got an instruction sheet out on a Johnson, they were calling things completely different things than, say, a Honeywell or a Robert Shaw or a Barbara Coleman or even a Siemens. And so it could be really, really confusing. But at the end of the day, I mean, they all calibrate the same. So I remember back in the day, it was a big mystery because it was like, oh, you can't use a Honeywell thermostat with a Johnson receiver controller. And yeah, you can actually. I mean, because it's all the same stuff. Is Dick Fassel, one of the guys who used to teach classes at our place, pneumatic controls, and he's passed away, but super great guy. You know, all of them have a goes in you and a goes out you, right? And then you're just basically calibrating them. So it is easy. We still, one of our biggest classes is the pneumatics class, you know, teaching people how to set these things up. A lot of the newer guys that are in the industry, I mean, they're used to doing the DDC stuff, setting them up and you know, DDC controls. But believe it or not, you know, I was at a workshop yesterday, Kenny, at a major hotel here in Atlanta. You look on the wall, what do they have? Pneumatic thermostat. So there's still a ton of pneumatics out there. So this is a really cool video by a guy named Jerry Condiff on how you can calibrate anybody's pneumatic thermostat. So if you're ever out on a job and you need to calibrate a stat, you can just remember this post, click on it. Jerry will walk you through it, and the principles work with anybody's stat.
You know, it's so interesting you say that, Eric, because I remember 1993 going to one of my first DDC training sessions, and they were predicting the demise of the pneumatic lines, and they were pointing down, you know, the slopes were going down, that right now 60-70% of the buildings were controlled by pneumatics, so by this time in such and such, you know, that they'll be entirely replaced. Well, you're right, we still sell a ton of pneumatics, and it's because people they use what they like, and they use what's reliable, and pneumatics are very reliable.
Well, they are, and I think the big thing that the reason people stay with them is it really gets back to the valves, right? You get these big valves that have pneumatic actuators, which were so much less expensive than the gear train actuators of, you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago, that a lot of people just stick with them because they don't want to have to replace the valves. But what they don't know is with companies like Belimo, Siemens, Honeywell, Johnson Controls, and some of the direct coupled actuators are a lot more powerful now than they were before. Or you can replace another strategy is if you want to keep the pneumatic valve, just get an I2P transducer and you can run, from your DDC controller, still use that pneumatic actuator on the valve, get that stat off the wall. The great thing about pneumatics is you don't have to run electricity to them. The bad thing about them is they need to be calibrated a lot. And again, that's where this video kind of comes in. It'll show you how to set them up and calibrate them. And in an age where people are becoming very, very precise with, their PID loops and really want to squeeze that last little bit out, if you're going to keep that pneumatic actuator because the valve's big or the damper's big, get an IDP, which is an electronic to pneumatic transducer. All of us handle them. You handle them. We do. People like Barry Gordon at AIC make them. All the major manufacturers have them. You can replace that, run your 2 to 10 volt or your 4 to 20 milliamp signal into that transducer. You can still control and use that pneumatic actuator, but you'll definitely tighten up the control loop, and then you don't have to mess with going and calibrating that pneumatic stat once or twice a year.
All right, Eric. Next, we have Reed Automated Buildings, Ken St. Clair's. I'm very pleased with this disruptive issue. It's a very interesting post, November's Automated Buildings edition, Delivering Disruption. Delivering disruption seems to be an unlikely topic when we're such a very exact and precise industry. But Ken points out that his plans for retirement have been disrupted. But it's very interesting because there's so many changes coming in, and our customers, they see and hear about all this new and disruptive technology, but in reality, it's the good disruption. We're actually having just more technology, making it more competitive and better, better to put in and making it smarter. We go into smart grid, social media, but check out that post by Ken St. Clair. Very nicely done. Thanks, Ken.
Well, yeah, and Ken is one of our all-time favorite people, and we just got done talking about pneumatic thermostats. I mean, think about a guy like Ken St. Clair. He's seen it all, from pneumatics all the way up to the advent of DDC to big data. He's seen disruptive technology a bunch, Kenny. So he's a great guy to write about that. But definitely check out his November issue of AutomatedBuilding.com. Ken is one of the all-time great people in our industry, I think. So, Kenny,
sure is, Eric.
Speaking of disruptive, let's break it up a little bit. So, we were at the Johnson Controls Conference, as you know, and we got a chance to catch up with a couple of distributors that have been around for a while. I want to take a minute and say hi to Steve Rowe. Steve Rowe is the president of MI Controls out in Seattle. Steve, if your Seahawks keep beating up on my Falcons like they're doing right now, I might have to Photoshop you and, put horns on the top of your head. But let's hear what Steve Rowe had to say about MI Controls.
So hi, Eric Strump was here again. We are at the after party at the Johnson Controls 2013 Johnson Controls product show. Hey, I tracked down one of the greats. He's a little camera shy. He is Steve Rowe from MI Controls. Hey, Steve, thanks so much for taking a minute to say hello.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. MI Controls has been around since 1920, and I'd say for the last 15-20 years, our specialty has been in DDC controls. We have Honeywell, Johnson Controls, of course, Limo, 33 employees. We cover Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Alaska, and Western Montana.
So Steve and his company are some of the most respected people in our industry. MI Controls, I mean, it started with Jerry Peterson. Before you, great people, great products, and so little known fact about Steve. Take a good long look at him, because when Bill Gates needs a better looking body double, much better looking, he calls Steve. Steve, thanks so much. How do our people get hold of you guys?
MIControls.com.
Thanks, buddy. Steve, we appreciate you, buddy. We'll get some more people from that Johnson Controls Business Conference on a little bit later, Kenny. All righty, Kenny, what do we have up next?
All right, next we have, can the Siemens PIC V valve win the Control Trends Best Commercial Product of the Year? And what a great post that is. It's a short video, but it really explains a very cool product. The Siemens PIC V valve is 3 components in one. It has a flow limiter, control valve, and an automatic pressure differential regulator. And it's a money saver. When used properly, it maintains the pressure throughout the system. The commissioning is easy. It has two standard PT ports to get it set up right. And then ball valves, we're selling tons of ball valves, but Siemens says that stroke valve gives you better resolution, 100-to-1 versus if you get a ball valve, you could be forced with kind of restricted range because you got a CV little disc in there and you can't take the disc out. So it's a great post. They make a great argument for being the best commercial product of the year.
Well, yeah, there we go. So that's our friend Josh Felburn from Siemens. Josh is, I think, their Eastern manager for products. He breaks down the Siemens valve. And so, Josh, tell us what the Siemens PIC valve is all about.
For those of you who don't know what a PIC valve is, it's basically 3 functions in one. We have your flow limiter, your control valve, and your automatic differential pressure regulator. The first thing you'll notice with the Siemens pressure-independent control valve is the flow limiter. It's its own separate component, unlike other manufacturers. It's very, very simple to dial in the desired GPM that you need for your system. The second thing with the Siemens pressure-independent control valve is the control valve itself. Now, it does come in brass and stainless steel trim. Also, what differentiates Siemens pressure-independent control valve compared to other manufacturers is ours is a stroke valve as compared to a ball valve. With ball valves, sometimes they come out from the factory preset, and there you'll lose rangeability and controllability in your system. With a stroke valve, you're going to get 100-to-1 resolution, and as you can see right here, it's a big gaping hole. It's going to be very difficult to have particles clog this control valve. Last but not least is the heart of the PIC valve, and that's the automatic differential pressure regulator. This maintains the pressure throughout the system and allows the PIC valve to be independent of the system's pressure. Also, commissioning is very easy when you have 2 standardized PT ports that come with all Siemens pressure-independent control valves.
Really cool. All right, so Kenny, I mean, I think the thing about the, PIC valves, where we see them a lot is maybe where the pumps are a little off in a building and maybe you're not getting the pressure you need up to the coils on the top floor of a building. I mean, I think these PIC valves can work really, really well in those applications, help you get better control. And anytime you get better control, Kenny, you save money. So good luck to Siemens, silver sponsor, with their PIC valve for the 2013 Best Commercial Product of the Year. If you like this product, be sure to register to vote, and we'll make sure to send you a voting ballot out when it's time to vote. If you're not registered, you won't get a chance to vote in the 2013 Control Trends Awards. Mr. Kenny, what do we have up next?
All right, Eric. Next up, we have Johnson Controls, nominated for 2013 Control Trends Awards Best Technical Support by a Vendor with Chris Lane. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, listen, let's just have a little breakdown with Chris Lane. Kenny, what I'll tell you is Chris Lane is one of the truly, truly great guys in our industry. I mean, he's a very, very humble guy. We caught up with him at the Johnson Controls 2013 conference. Chris is very, very humble. When he had an opportunity to talk about himself, he wanted to talk about his team. Let's take a quick listen.
Well, I've talked a lot about the products. One thing I wanted to mention about is our support structure. So one of the things that we've learned as we go out and we talk to customers is it's not so much the products that are the value, it's the support structure, the infrastructure that supports those products behind the scenes. As you can see, one of our guys back there, Greg Wilmer, field support manager, great guy, teaching customers about how to use our FX controllers right now. He's also got several videos out on our site, so we've got an awesome support structure. We have the Field Support Center, we have the Pro FX User Connected Community, we've got a knowledge database, all sorts of tools and help infrastructure to help our customers with support questions on FX.
So there you go. That's Chris Lane, and Johnson Controls is up for the 2013 Best Technical Support as a company. Another person on their team is Greg Wilmer. We got a chance to catch up with Greg, too. Let's hear what Greg had to say.
Primarily, I do support. So if we have a new product, I like to go run it through all the tests. I do the beta and the alpha tests. And once I figure out how it's supposed to work, and then I tell our engineers how it's really working, I try to get it correct. And after we do that, I try to create a video so that I can post it on our community, and our customers can watch it and really understand how these things are supposed to work. Simple. So that's the first thing. A lot of times I'm the third step on technical support. And I think that's the most fun, because it's a really difficult project to try to solve. So a lot of times I'll go out on job sites, or I'll be working on a project from my basement, believe it or not, and constantly trying to figure out why something's not working properly and making sure it does.
Okay, so there you go. So, and Chris is, Kenny, like we mentioned earlier, Chris is up for the 2013 PID award. So good luck with Chris. Again, you must be registered to vote. You can just click on the right-hand side of the Control Trends homepage. You'll see a place to register to vote. We will not share your information with other people, but we do need to have your information to send you a ballot so that we can cross-reference and make sure somebody's not trying to stuff the ballot box. All right, Kenny, what do we have up next?
All right, Eric. Next up was a quick post by the Department of Energy. We have GSA releases an RFI, Innovative Building Technologies for GSA Proving Ground, fiscal year 2014 program. I think this is really an interesting program. One of the two posts we have about the Department of Energy, but it's a green proving ground GPG program, and it leverages GSA's real estate portfolio, which is huge, as a proving ground to evaluate emerging building technologies that promise the operating costs. So they make themselves a living work in progress, and they invite manufacturers, they invite solutions providers to come in and significantly improve the environmental performance or lower the operating costs, or both, of all the federal real estate portfolio. So that's pretty interesting challenge.
Well, it is, and they have such a good track record. I mean, we met, and I forget the gentleman's name at Realcom. We were down there that handles GSA's compliance, if you will, with the green standards that the Obama administration set for us. So GSA has tremendous experience and knowledge. I mean, hey, we were taxpayers. We've helped pay for this, so you might as well leverage it and learn from some of the great things that GSA has done.
Good point, and that's why I keep tracking them. Two reasons. Why is we have a changing, the nature of our business is changing, and we have to keep track of where the funding sources come from. And right now, the most consistent source of funding is the federal government and Department of Energy.
All right, Kenny, let's journey back for a moment to the Johnson Controls 2013 Business Conference. One of the distributors that was there was Dave Susky from Twinco. We had a chance to catch up with Dave, and incidentally, Dave was Johnson Controls Building Automation Distributor of the Year. He's up in New York City.
One of the great things about this event is you catch up with old friends and really people that are great in the industry. And to track this guy down, Dave Susky, Twinco Supply. Twinco is one of the great distributors. As a matter of fact, at the Johnson meeting, they were announced 2013 Johnson Controls DDC Distributor of the Year. Dave, man, thanks for taking a few minutes. Tell our listeners a little bit about Twinco and the areas you guys cover.
Well, Twinco Supply, we're covering all of Manhattan area, the boroughs of Manhattan, Long Island, and up to Westchester. We handle equipment lines like LG Controls, Honeywell, Johnson Controls, Polimo Air Controls, and we're really involved in the industry with CGNA meetings and Johnson meetings, Honeywell meetings. We love it. And Control Trends, they're the best.
Thanks. Well, Dave and I go way back. We're members of CGNA. These guys, if you're in Manhattan or New York, this is a trusted distributor. These guys do great stuff. Website with Twinco?
Twinco.com.
Twinco.com. Now, a little known fact about Dave. Dave is, he's actually a lot older than he looks. So Dave is a guy who actually wrote the song for Frank Sinatra, New York, right? So, you want to sing a couple bars?
Well, a town so nice, we had to name it twice.
There you go. Dave Susky, Twinco Supply. Dave, thanks so much, buddy.
So those guys are great guys. Steve Bergman, Dave, Susky, Kenny, and Kenny. We got another Ken up there. Those guys are all great. They do a great job. They cover New York. They cover Manhattan. You got a chance to see those guys at the 2013 Control Trends Awards. So good to see those guys. We're going to talk about a few. And they're also in Controls Group North America, the organization we're in as well. So over the coming weeks, we will introduce you to more of our CGNA brethren on Control Talk now.
All right, Eric. Next up, we have KMC Controls Free Product Resource mobile app. It is a nice little thing. I've downloaded it, and it gives you some amazing portable capabilities. It'll give you a chance to download spec sheets, cross-reference, give you the pneumatic product lists, and hats off to Ben Dorsey and his moving into that social media. He's not just moving into it; he's mastering it. And what they say about social media and the internet, it's not a sales and marketing tool. It is it's a means to communicate, and it's a relationship device. And that's not me. That's Mr. Michael Drew from the Pendulum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great book, Pendulum. Great book. If you haven't read The Pendulum, that is a book on both. Ken and I both read the book. We won't talk about it now, but great book to check out. But hey, you know what? Here's Ben Dorsey. We found him on LinkedIn. Neither you or I handle his DDC product line. He gets involved a little bit, uses some social media, and they're up for 3 or 4 awards at the Control Trends Awards, including the Marketing Awards. So got to give Ben Dorsey a lot of credit for embracing, like you say, not only great technology at KMC, but also the way he's using social media. So we'll hopefully get Ben on the show here in the next couple of weeks. I'd like to talk to him.
It sure would be nice. And KMC, just in review, is it's an American company, and they're the gentle giants, the sleeping giants. They make a lot of controls and a lot of periphery devices for a lot of people, and they just get it done. And they're very quiet and just old school, but high quality, and they're very big on their personnel, and great company to work for. We hear so. Ben, it'd be nice to talk to you, and by all means, everybody get that KMC application. You could download it from either the iPhone or just lost it for a second, the iPhone or the Google Play.
Cool.
All right, Eric. Well, next up we have the next 2 topics. The next 2 posts are both involving InTouch. Why don't you take the first one where they break down the 2000 Control Trends Awards thermostat. InTouch is a very deserving finalist, and why don't you tell us why?
Well, we've talked about InTouch a lot, Kenny. They're a smaller company, and they make great products. It's one of the themes we're sort of seeing is the people that are being successful now, it's more than a thermostat. So if you look at InTouch, they're playing in that light commercial space. But the thermostat will do things like occupancy sensors, control lighting. You can push the stuff up to the cloud, which they can create a website for you so you can monitor your loads. As well as additional inputs, in addition to getting great temperature control. So they sort of have taken the thermostat, used it as a base, created a really, really nice, light commercial system. So you're getting more than a thermostat with these guys. And which brings you to the second post. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I was very impressed with this, Eric. We're involved in the daily challenges of business, and some companies and parts are going up, while others, unfortunately, are going down. InTouch is on the rise. They raised $8.5 million in secure funding, and they're going after, like you said, very aggressively now. Where they had some maybe restrictions or some limitations that required additional funding. Those have been solved, and I think the post says that you have InTouch coming to a mall near you. With its recent funding firmly in place, InTouch will now have the resources to aggressively compete in the light commercial building space. The InTouch Energy Management System combines the look and ease of a modern thermostat, a user-friendly thermostat, but with the control, monitoring, and energy management capabilities of a system. So it's ideal for restaurants, retail chains that need efficiency too, and InTouch Controls delivers. So I think we're going to see InTouch continue to be a very strong competitor in the light building commercial space.
So Kenny, I got a little bit of surprise for you. We're yakking along about InTouch. Guess who I've got with us right now? I'd like to introduce the president, CEO of InTouch, Greg Fasulo. Let's have Greg tell us about this. Hey, Greg, welcome to the show.
Hey, Eric. Well, thank you very much for having us today. Appreciate the time.
Okay, so Greg, you've heard Kenny and I sort of yak on a little bit about InTouch. We're obviously big fans, but from your perspective, what can you tell us about InTouch?
What we provide is energy management systems for small commercial facilities. And for us, that's restaurants, it's retail stores, it's schools, and it's offices.
Greg, in your opinion, what makes InTouch so different?
So InTouch is a different type of controls company. Our background is in the telecom space and not traditional controls. So what we're very good at is developing networks of devices. Traditional control systems are wired. They're designed for buildings where you've got a facility staff. They're typically meant for new construction. If you look at the restaurant and retail space and national chains, they typically spend much more on energy than they need to. One of the reasons for that is that they don't have facility automation. If you go into a restaurant or a retail store and you add an automation system, it's very difficult. There's customers there, it's during business hours, you have to be in and out really quickly, and the system really has to be easy and low cost to install. So what we've designed is a very simple architecture. There's a couple things that make it different. It's wireless, first of all, so the devices in the facility don't need wires to communicate. It controls HVAC, which is the largest source of energy, also one of the bigger maintenance issues in a restaurant or retail store. We monitor energy, so we can map how much energy devices in the facility are using. And then we also control lighting, things like parking lot lights, signage. It's a very simple system. It's designed for a very basic user in a restaurant or a retail environment.
Okay, so Greg, any other sort of applications that you guys see using your thermostat for?
So yes, there's other applications where you can use the InTouch system. Our base system is essentially communicating thermostats. We have very nice touchscreen commercial thermostats. They've got features that you won't find in a traditional thermostat, typically only found in a high-end automation system. They couple motion detectors, the ability to add external sensors, the ability to control analog as well as digital outputs, and the ability to interface with a wide range of HVAC systems. This system is unique in that it communicates wirelessly between devices. So you can have one thermostat that's connected to a hardwired Ethernet. You've got other devices that are wired to it, connected wirelessly rather. They all communicate and share information, and then all of this is hooked up to our cloud service.
Greg, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about InTouch's cloud service?
So one of the key differentiators for InTouch, customers don't have to have a server. You don't have an equivalent box that you'd have with a Jace or another Tritium device in the facility. Everything's on the cloud. This allows us to have up-to-date software all the time. It allows us to upgrade the software in the devices and fundamentally keeps the cost low because customers don't need to buy software access. They don't need to have servers of their own. They don't need to spend the money on the facility staff to manage that. We do all that for them.
Hey, Greg, thanks so much for stopping by and being on the show. We really appreciate you. Hey, good luck at the Control Trends Awards.
Yeah, so thank you, Eric. I appreciate having us on and look forward to doing this again soon.
That's Greg Fusulo, CEO and President of InTouch. InTouch is up for the 2013 Thermostat of the Year. Be sure to check these guys out. Kenny, we handle them. They do a great job. Really good company work. They're smaller, but that makes them nimble, makes them quick. Early on when I talked to Greg, Greg is interested in growing the business, but not at the sake of quality. So if you get on board with these guys, they're gonna really take good care of you, and that's been our experience so far.
Super. And what an incredible race that Thermostat of the Year is turning into now with InTouch. Just to know a little bit more about them and some of the previous posts we've done with Nest and Honeywell, Prestige, and Ecobee and Viconics, Series VT.
Yeah.
What competition? So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and you speaking of Nest, I tell you what, it was interesting. Mr. Jones, I think, caught this a while back, but I picked up Wired magazine, right? And who do you think they're talking about in Wired magazine? Tony Fadell, the guy who'll never come on and talk to us, but he should. But because you think you're famous now, Tony, if you ever got on ControlTalk now, man, you would be all over it. But Nest is, Kenny, they're moving into another space. They're moving into the smoke detector space, the residential smoke detectors. So really, really fascinating. And it kind of makes sense because what he's saying is they're saying is most smoke detectors get disconnected, right? Because you get those irritating beeps because the battery needs to be replaced. It happens at 3 o'clock in the morning. And if you're like me, you take a hammer, you just knock that son of a gun off the wall. So what they've done, Kenny, is they've done a couple things. First of all, they've made it, cooler looking, right? So it's like a little sunflower. They actually have a voice that will give you a warning when the battery goes low. So instead of the beep, you're going to get something that's going to say, your battery's starting to go low. You have 3 hours to replace it. So they're trying to make it another, more. He's trying to make the environment more friendly, I guess. And so really, really a cool thing. It'd be interesting to see. I think the price point was like $189 on it. Again, Tony and Nest are just going around distributors like me and you. I mean, I think, we're the proverbial bad guys now because we're the quote-unquote the middlemen. But guess what, contractors? He's going around you too. So I guess what I'd be interested in having a dialogue about and discussing is, Kenny, does that concern you at all? That companies like Nest are just completely bypassing the traditional chain?
Well, yeah, no. Obviously the old school side says, yeah, it's a horrible thing because two-step distribution is how we make a living. But again, somebody moved to cheese and now we got to go after it and find different ways to get to different markets. I think that the do-it-yourselfers are becoming more and more of a viable aspect of our markets. And at some point, you're going to have to yield the components that they're able to get and master, and don't need support, don't need a distributor's value-added proposal. I think with the Nest product line, I see growth inside of every building. Honeywell once had a conception, a great marketing program that I used to listen to and think that's pretty clever. They wanted one product at least every household, every residence, every building in the world. And Nest is starting off in a similar acquisition, but that second component now gives them greater mesh capability within a household, gives them greater sensory, if those sensors can communicate between the CO2 monitor and the thermostat, well, guess what you've got? You got greater connections. You have greater traceability inside of the residence, inside the thing, which is good and bad. Some people get all spooky about the big brother, and now if you know that not only are they home, but they're also located here. But think about the what's coming down the pike with this kind of technology that we're talking about, especially with that communication post we put in last week. Imagine a fire department could go in and know where the residents are. They could tell by probably motion and sensing where people are inside of a residence. If they respond to a fire. I mean, I think that they're on a futuristic path that we just don't have our fingertips on yet. So hats off to
I would agree. I would agree about the futuristic path, but I'm not so sure that Honeywell and some of these other people aren't on that path as well. I think what makes Nest really unique is the fact that they obviously design really cool looking stuff. And I got to tell you, I've got 2 Nest thermostats in my house. I did a video when I installed them, and I was just so impressed. It was so easy to install, the way they laid it out, the way it was packaged. It was like getting an Apple product. I'm a big Apple guy. I love Apple. But I got to take it. I don't know whether it's just me or what, but those stats, I got to take them out, man, because I tell you what, it's like, it's supposed to anticipate your movement or whatever, but it's got the air conditioning on in the wintertime and the heat on in the summertime, and it's just screwing it. Again, it's probably me that's screwing it up, but my understanding was that you just put them in and it sort of learn your movements. So I think my thermostat just thinks I'm a psychopath or something like that, because it does really, really strange things with my heating and air conditioning. So if somebody understands how the Nest thermostats work, a local contractor in Atlanta, maybe you can help me out. Either that, or like I said, my thermostat just hates me and thinks I'm completely psycho, or maybe it's just messing with it, or maybe because we sort of give Tony Fidel a hard time about not coming on the show. Maybe he's in here tampering with my thermostat, right? Because it's a wireless network. But I sort of say that tongue in cheek, Kenny. But we had a guy on last summer or whatever, Minivan Jack. You remember Minivan Jack? And you're right. People are really getting sort of up in arms about this connectivity thing, because Minivan Jack is all about, invading your privacy and all. He was talking about the smart meters outside, being able to read those. And, he thinks there are health issues regarding that. But the big thing he's saying is now people are going to know whether you're at home, when you're not at home. With guys that don't break the law, that's probably not such a big deal, because, it'd be an alibi for you. But I think they're actually starting to solve crimes with that. Is it admissible in court, for example, if you say you're at home and somebody sees you at a crime, but your thermostat says, no, he wasn't there. The Nest goes, Eric wasn't there. He was not there. You need to arrest him. Get him off the air, right? So, we're joking about it, but it's sort of an interesting thing if you really think about it. I mean, because with greater convenience comes greater possible privacy issues. And I mean, that's part of what this book Pendulum is about, right? He's talking about, he sees this pendulum is going to switch the other way, and people are going to get really irate about, like, well, who's Google and why am I sharing all this stuff with them? Why is my thermostat know where I am all the time? So interesting stuff.
Sure is, Eric. I can make 2 comments. One, it might be doing some advanced energy savings for you. It knows that it's bringing your air conditioning on when it's costing less money. So it's in touch with the utility grid. So it's knowing that you're going to need air conditioning in the near future, and it's providing it to you at a lower rate, and there it's doing you a big favor. So
no, I think that's what's going on, because it's November in Atlanta, and now so I'm getting my house nice and cool for next May, buddy. But again, I mean, I'm just saying this, but it's probably me. It really is. But it is a cool stat, and I think the thing we have to say about Nest, though, this is the thing. I mean, we can like the fact they bypassed this or not. I mean, we can talk about that, but the one thing you have to give these guys tremendous credit for is they launched this product with nothing but social media. I mean, you want to talk about a textbook social media launch and sustainable marketing campaign, I mean, Nest has it. I mean, they really do, right?
We sure do. In fact, it's not even social media anymore. To them, it's social business. In other words, it's establishing a relationship. Social media doesn't, they didn't hear Nest saying to buy this, and they didn't try to pull it, through you or push it through you. They just simply told you what they had. And I think what Nest is doing with Honeywell, InTouch, and all these other really future-minded companies is that one day the utility grid is going to be a very important aspect of our infrastructure. I mean, it obviously is now, but it's not efficient, and we're not going to build any more power plants. So the only thing we can do is reduce our inefficiencies, and Nest is achieving that. They've got some really, really smart people. They got a great staff, because I see them everywhere I go into the smart grid. I see Nest. I see a Nest representative involved. So they've got they're doing their homework, and as a corporation, they're moving forward. And they're setting a pace that, like you said, a couple other people are running with them, but they're going to, at the end of the day, they're going to get their share of market with or without our consent or distributors' consent.
Well, and I tell you what, I think they make us all better. You got to give them credit for that, because they really have shaken our industry up. And I will tell you this, the only mistake they're making is they're not marketing through distributors like us. And Tony, Fidel, it's me again. Just want to let you know that I do have connections with Mike Sackett and Jim Heyman at Controls Group North America. I mean, if you just were to join that group, work through companies like the Smyers Company and Stromquist Company, I mean, you'd have it 100%. You really would. You'd have it all. Don't be so different. I mean, go through the good distributors, not the bad distributors. So anyway, Tony, it's good to talk to you again. You know where to find me. And Kenny, I tell you what, while we're all kind of on a roll and we're talking social, let's take one more look at another one of our distributor partners. His name is Scott Toomey. He's with Temperature Controls out of Dallas, Texas. These guys just rock and roll.
I'm here with one of the all-time legends in our industry, Scott Toomey from Temperature Controls out of Dallas, Texas. Scott, been a fun show, huh?
It has been a great show. They've done a wonderful job with it. Rick Van Buren, although we hate to give him all the credit, has really been outside his skin on this one.
Well, he really has. He's done a great job with great speakers, great time. For our listeners who might not know who Temperature Controls is, tell us a little bit about Temperature Controls.
Temperature Controls is a multi-state distributor of Johnson Controls, Honeywell, Tritium, KMC, Belimo. We have many, many product lines that we support. One of the common denominators that we have for our building automation products is everybody is a Tritium-based AX platform, be it Johnson, be it Honeywell, or Vicon. And that's just kind of the offering that we give our customers, and we try to help them with support when they need it, but we make sure they're properly trained first so that support can be minimal, we hope.
Well, you guys do a great job with that, Scott. I know you got a really good team down there. Met Gus and some of the people on your team.
Oh yeah, I know nothing.
You know, well, I think you coined the phrase, the first guy to coin the phrase, blinking light flag. What was the phrase?
Yeah, I am not the bits and bytes and blinking lights guy.
Yeah.
That is, we've got Gus Border, Justin Hedrick, Abe Monreal, William Cooper, Chad Ketcher, and Matt Nolte down in Austin, and they are all AX certified. They do a phenomenal job for us. They let me say things that may or may not always be true. The only thing I really know is tell them to check the subnet mask.
There you go. There you go. So, Scott, how do people find out more about Temperature? I know you guys got a new website. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, our website did just launch, kind of partnered with CGNA on that. They did a phenomenal job, Peter Fan and his team, and we're really loving it. We look to release our online shopping cart. Hopefully by the end of the year. We're really looking forward to that, be able to offer our customers 24/7 shopping with temperature control systems.
So Scott, I can tell you he's a very humble guy, but he is known for two things in our industry. He is known as the funniest individual in our industry. He's a great guy, have a good time with him. And Scott also is known, he's a human being who apparently never drinks water, and there's a reason for that.
I am not a big fan of water, mainly because fish have sex in it.
There you go. You heard it first. Scott Toomey, Temperature Controls. Be sure to check these guys out if you're in Texas. They're your source. Scott, thanks so much, buddy.
Eric, thank you. I really
Great guys. Hats off to Scott Toomey, Scott Cross. Great company they have in Dallas, Texas. So we're proud to have them in the CGNA and be in the group with them as well. All right, what do we have up next, Mr. Kenny?
All right, Derek, we have J2 from J2 Finn, Cool Feature of the Month. Finn Mobile Basics, Commanding Points. This is a great post put up by the the people at J2. The Fin Builder continues to develop and launch new products. This is a Fin mobile app. I highly recommend everybody go to the website. Just as a reminder, J2 Innovation Teams is up for I think 2 or 3 of the awards. Best Building Automation Graphic Tool, Fin Builder, Best Automation Application of the Year. Oh yes, certainly in 3. And Jason Briggs as HVAC Controls Executive of the Year. So well done, J2, Fin Builder. Hello to Scott Mensch out there. And yeah, we continue to see J2 moving across the board. More and more incidences of J2 are showing up, and people are talking about it through the different communities, the WebsAX community and the Agri community.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because in that post it shows that now the Haystack protocol is actually in Niagara now. So you can do your tagging right there with that Haystack protocol. So that is a really cool thing. I mean, you guys will remember if you go back in time, Kenny and I were actually at the first In Haystack conference in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So really, really cool stuff there. So again, congratulations to Jason and Scott and the team at J2 Innovation. All right, Kenny, what do we have up next?
All right, Eric. Next is your the long-winded one, the Ken's top information pivot points to week 45. I will tell you this: there's a couple of really, really interesting tidbits in that collection of 5 for the week 45. The Smart American Challenge. This is a really, really cool thing. It's cyber physical systems to be the focus of a White House working workshop. This is a Let's see here. They're going to, if multiple cyber physical systems testbed encompassing different industry segments were interconnected via an industrial internet to demonstrate functionality greater than each individual part. Well, this Smart America project is bringing together organizations, cyber physical systems, CPS technology. The purpose is to elevate awareness of the exciting opportunities through possible CPS deployment and demonstrate what can be done with cutting-edge communication technology. For instance, interconnected testbed could demonstrate the mobile communication system for first responders is connected directly to hospitals to alert them of potential incoming casualties. There's a couple of hospitals that do that. The Jewish hospital down there, and I think it's Tennessee, does that, where the fire department chief, he connects to the hospital's infrastructure via the internet, and he knows the water pressure at all the fire plugs, where not to connect the hoses, where the greatest concentration of people are. He advises them automatically as he's responding where they want to set up the entry control point, where the evacuation routes should be put in, set up, and where to set up the alternate entry control point. I mean, it's just an amazingly heads-up concept, and that's what this is going to do. And recommend people get involved in that. IT Business Edge gave us regulated industries, in particular, financial, healthcare, pharmaceutical, insurance organizations are under great pressure to leverage the power of social media to advance their business. Yet, fear of emerging regulatory guidance and requirements, as well as the legal risk, can be disruptive and potentially costly. Well, there's requirements and codes that you don't know until you bump into them, and sometimes not being aware of them doesn't necessarily get you off the hook. The medical companies, they have to monitor social media to see what's out there about the use of the drugs that they sell, and they have the responsibility by the governmental code to be aware of that, to go out and keep busy on it and watch it. Next up was CoreTech 2013. It's over. It was an amazing event. It was a huge success, and we hope to have an interview for next week. One of the MSIs that we work with is going to prepare an interview for us, and Rick Werner said he said it was an amazing event, and the Microsoft campus is a one of a kind, maybe the most modern green facility in America, maybe the world. Then another U.S. department launches alternative fueling stations locations app. I mean, Washington's not to be second to none. They have an application now, so if you're driving and you do use the alternative fuels, there's 15,000 stations that are on the GPS app that you can be driving somewhere and have access to your electricity, biodiesel, and natural gas for compressed and liquefied tanks. So that's kind of cool. And the last but not least was our Social Times. It was a social media plug that is the Social Business Gold Rush. Social Business Gold Rush over. And that's where they don't call it social media anymore. They think it's more social business. But they have a free webinar that you can sign up for. And I'll tell you what, these guys are really on top of it. I think it's a company out of England, and they really put some good information together because they say it's not over. It's only just begun. The most businesses are just getting to the end of the first exploratory phase, and now as long as they understand social media, social business, they'll be able to exploit that, because again, it's not a marketing tool or a sales tool. It is a communication device to get a greater relationship with the communities and customers, with your own corporation. In other words, it's a means of communication. So that's a great post. And,
well, yeah, and Kenny, we saw that, Johnson Controls talked about that social business. I mean, that's the next big trend. I would love to, let's definitely put a link to that webinar on there. I know you already got it, but I'd love to check that out. Maybe we can get somebody from that organization to come on Control Talk Now and talk a bit about it. But hey, Kenny, as usual, man, great job with that. I mean, you really stand on top of the trends. I tell you what, if anybody's monitoring social media, Kenny and I have had to start and stop this program about 7 or 8 times today because of bad Skype connections. So we apologize in advance for any blurriness or any disruptive technologies, and the poorest sense of the word with what's going on with Skype today. So we did the best we could. And It looks like I just lost Kenny. There, he came right back on. All right. So anyway, Kenny, with that, I think I guess we should try to get back on one more time, huh, and finish
let me get rid
up.
of this. I don't know what happened. There we go.
Okay, cool. We're back on. Okay. So as I was saying, Kenny, I've been having all kinds of problems with Skype today, so thank you for bearing with us on this. Kenny, I think that's it for another week of Control Talk Now. Anything else you want to add before we sign off?
Yeah, Eric, I got just a little tidbit of bad news again for you. You're down 26-3.
Well, I tell you what, this is one of those days where this is one of those days when I'm glad I'm doing Control Talk Now and talking about controls versus sitting in front of the TV set. Because I tell you what, I'd be more upset at the TV than I'm upset at Skype right now. So. That's it. One special thanks to Mike Marston and the folks at Easy.io, to all of our sponsors for the 2013 Control Trends Award, and to Greg Fusulo, Chris Lane, and everybody else that joined us on Control Talk Now this week. So that's it. I'm Eric Stromquist. He's the man, the myth, the legend. We'll see you next week on Control Talk Now.
Indeed, Eric.